The sky so far, but I can't lose it.
Let's be innovative. Let's challenge the norm. Let's raise the bar. Let's be the elite.
To be the best, one must beat the best. Ovals, road courses, the streets of iconic cities, race after race, the top sim racing IndyCar stars will battle it out. In sim racing, it doesn't get any better than this. This is their battleground, for the checkered flag, for the glory, for the right to say they are the best. The cars and stars of the Lionheart IndyCar Series, presented by Butt Kicker, are ready to race.
the heart of the St. Louis skyline sits the gateway to the west, and in its shadow lies the unique egg-shaped oval that highlights the adaptability required in the Lionheart IndyCar series. From road courses to super speedways and now to the short ovals, this is the Worldwide Technology Raceway. This is the HyperX 200 at Gateway. Hello and welcome back to RaceSpot TV for coverage of the 2022 Lionheart IndyCar Series. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted as always to be joined by the one and only Justin Print, and let's dive straight into our butt kicker pre-race show for the third race in the month of August, with still one more left to go after this. JP, it's a busy time for the drivers as they work towards the closing stages of the championship, and we know how tricky Gateway can be. Drivers have been talking all the way in the build-up to this one about how loose the car will be as they ramp off of turn number 4.
Very hot track conditions for tonight, and a very difficult track at that to be able to tame tonight. This stretch has been very, very treacherous for some competitors. We've seen that with some of the big ones at Michigan last time out, your next level racing schedule. But now it's the matter, though, of if you want to win the championship, you need to do well in the stretch, right? And some drivers have done so, others not so much. Tonight could be a pivotal moment of the season here at Gateway.
To correct myself, I meant turn 2, not turn 4 when it comes to drivers having issues coming off the corners. Of course, each end of the raceway very, very different at this Worldwide Technology Raceway. Over to the land of the rising sun next at the end of August, before we take a couple of weeks off before returning to Motegi and its Grand Prix layout. But as we wind our way into the final third of the championship, it has been a dominant year for Philip Kraus. There are not enough superlatives to describe what a phenomenal season it has been for the Wisconsin native. Alexander Van der Sant, the rookie, sits best of the rest, while climbing quietly, Robert Malechka has jumped his way up into third in the championship. Your defending champion Blocker sits down in 7th as he looks to fight his way forward as we work our way to the end of 2022. No big shock to continue to see Phil Kraus pull away, but JP, it's starting to get mixed up for second on back.
Yeah, Van der Sant's trying to find a way to be able to defend Robert Malechka, who's been doing really well as of late. Keep in mind, Connor Harrington's also been fairly consistent throughout this campaign, so the overall driver standings could see plenty of shakeups tonight. Matt Taylor just 1 point back of Harrington, though, with his spike in performance the past couple weeks.
Take a look then at the HyperX team standings, and when you see the private label Team Hype running so well in the Drivers' Championship, no surprise that they dominate in the HyperX team standings. Powerslide Adrenaline sit in second, while Powerslide Ignition have closed the gap to Synergy Motorsport Silver. Still a little bit of a way to go, but with Madworks Motorsports very much in tow. Ascari Autosport started as a 3-man group. They're down to a duo after Barrett Rolfe signed off for 2022, but Mitchell Riggs has been running quite well, and that's why when we take a look at your Butt Kicker Rookie Championship, the Ascari Autosport machine runs up in 6th as he closes to the back of Andrew Marquez. But again, with such a strong rookie class that came into this year with plenty of experience out of the series in this car, it's no shock to see those top 3 in the top of the rookie standings.
They're very consistent when it comes to their marks. Kraus 14 top 5s and 10s and 14 starts. Van der Sant about half the season has been inside the top 5 so far. Robert Malechka also in that same category, just about, if not in the top 10. So most of these drivers have been very consistent. That's been their calling cards throughout the campaign for some of your top rookies, your top 4 rookies in fact, have all been inside the top 10 at least half of the races this season.
Consistency wins championships. It's as simple as that for Phil Kraus. It's been being on the podium in basically every single race that we've had in 2022. Let's talk to you about the Gomez Sim Industry Series details as we work our way through Season 10 of the Lionheart IndyCar Series in Year 9 of the Lionheart Racing Series. We're racing in the latest American open wheel machine, the Dallara IRA team, with a custom fixed setup built by RaceSpot's own Andrew Kinsella. On ovals, drivers have the opportunity to avail themselves of front and rear anti-roll bars to stiffen and loosen up the car at either end. But the weight jacker will be a helpful tool to also work your way through the course of the race with traffic going to be very, very important. Cash and prizes jumped from just over $7,000 in 2021 to over $10,000 in 2022. Of course, our season champion walks away with Gomez in Industries, Formula Pro Elite Rim, as well as a Next Level Racing GT Track cockpit courtesy of the partners of the Lionheart Racing Series. Just one more Triple Crown race to go as we look to dethrone Adam Blocker, Phil Krause on a coronation drive, you'd have to say, to the end of the season. But the private label Team Hype looking on course to defend their championship. As we talk though about the Moser Racing event details, it's a busy run for Justin Prince and myself, week in, week out, 4 races in this month of August, but we really get to test the adaptability, the determination of the drivers. And very similar to what we saw last time, JP, pole position has only converted to HyperX Victory Lane once. However, drivers have been able to work their way forward. It requires luck, it requires caution timing, it requires you to lead laps.
This is not an easy track to be able to find your way up to the front. Keep in mind, though, Arjuna, unless you find that strategy, because this is a track where air wash can be very prevalent, especially in the heart of the pack. And it could take the timing of, are you going to be able to time at the right timing for a caution? Are you going to be able to keep clean? Are you going to be able to guess right to be able to come away with the victory? Last year, that came into play a little bit. Expect that to come into play big time here tonight.
It is a racetrack that has seen close finishes in the real world and the virtual world. We had 3 races in a row where basically a tenth of a second split first from second spot. Last year, 1.1. However, don't be shocked if we get the cameras out. Only 1 caution last year, but we averaged anywhere from 4 to 7 in prior years. First 3 runnings of this race were 150 miles. The last 4 have been 200 miles. We look from up above and we look at the unique nature of this facility in Madison, Illinois. 1.25 miles, 11 degrees of banking through turns 1 and 2, 9 degrees of banking through turns 3 and 4.
And turn 2 in particular tonight, hit upon just moments ago, expected to be a treacherous part of the racetrack, whether it's trying to keep the car off the wall at the edge of the safer barrier, whether it's trying to prevent yourself from bringing up puffs of smoke. 2 drivers, for example, just had a crash in that same section, one of them being Philip Krause. It's expected to be very treacherous out of turn 2 today, whether it's drivers slamming it outside wall and going to the inside into the grass, or looping it around in front of the pack coming out of that corner. So expect plenty of fireworks coming to the back straight away.
There are plenty of drivers with nothing to lose, but drivers like Van der Sant looking to consolidate position. Qualifying runs are being attempted even with the traffic that we've got here at the dying throes of practice. At one point we had 3 drivers, or 3 pairings, split by less than 1,000th of a second. The top 2 were split by 1,000th of a second. Right now the top 3 split by 6,000ths of a second, with Van der Sant and Malechka punching in the exact same lap times. When you come to small facilities, the margins become smaller, but you get the sense with 5 cars split by half a tenth of a second that the best have shown up ready to tango.
And this is going to be a very, very important race to be able to manage the throttle, I think, tonight, because for these drivers coming into the race, hot track conditions, it's been as hot as 113, 119 in fact degrees Fahrenheit. It is starting to dip with the clouds you see out of turn 4, which may be a bit of a saving grace for some, but grip management may come into play for some of these drivers to start off tonight's event as it transitions into the evening.
For this race, we are expecting fuel mileage to potentially play its part, not when we start, but from when the cautions inevitably start to fly. We have not gone a race without a caution at this facility before. Plenty of drivers at the front of the field will be hoping to at least get some green flag runs. We'd expect plenty of chaos if we do enter traffic situations, although with just 29 cars entered, it won't be the busiest track that we have seen so far in 2022. So the practice will come to a close and it becomes time for drivers to steel themselves to get ready for competition, because 5 minutes will be thrown up on the board. Drivers get 2 attempts and the track to themselves. It's go fast time, Justin. We've seen Phil Krause be dominant in qualifying, but Adam Blocker last time out stopped the run of poles. He stopped Phil Krause from taking his 6th pole on the bounce.
And And this is a racetrack where qualifying can be very important, of course, as we talked about with the track position, especially in the early going and the prevalence of that traffic difficulty. It's going to be the matter, though, of who's going to be able to nail these times right here tonight. Josh Chin might be one of those drivers we see do very well, trying to be among those drivers yet again. There's among that couple and hundreds of a second difference in practice. Keep an eye on the lines, having to be taken care of here tonight. Wider Archer trying to diamond it off the corner for the run off of turn 4.
Here comes the king of chins, always rapid when it comes to short track racing at the likes of Richmond. What can he do today? He'll become one of the first to cross the line and get a flyer started. Just see how tentative he's having to be in towards turns 1 and 2. As he builds up a little bit more temperature in those tires. Powers down the back straightaway, winds it through the little bit more open turn 3 and 4. He'll become the first driver to put a lap time on the board. What will it be for the 93 private label team hype machine? A 25.533. We'll see where that stacks up when the qualifying clock comes to a close.
Oh, and he hit the wall. Chin hit the wall, so Joshua Chin's qualifying run comes to a close right there. And that's that little bit of loose condition expected corner exit. These cars are nearly drifting just about coming out of turn 2 with that front nose.
Brian Carey, a quarter of a second off pole right now. One wonders if it was setting up for lap 2, but Guyon, pole on lap 1. Is it an improvement on 2? No, goes 200 slower. Carey finds the time. The Canadian goes to the top with a 25.451.
Improvement of 4/10 from practice as well for Brian Carey. Remember, though, the quickest times in the 2s, Mitchell Riggs already in the 25.3s. Jason Brophy, one of the drivers to watch for lap 2. How about lap 1 and 2 being both flyers? There's that 25.2.
Jason Brophy will punch his way forward, but with the likes of Malechka, Blocker, Harrington, Van der Sant still all yet to go. What do we have in store? Malechka builds as Kraus will roll to pole position once more. Will it happen, or will someone stop the Kraus machine from rolling through Gateway?
For reference, so far, Philip Kraus, 8 poles on the season, and getting a pole here tonight would be critical. Give credit to Tower Graph last time out in the Speedway Series, getting his first career Lionheart Racing Series victory of his career. On-time graphic designer Monsto's looking to bump his way up, currently in the mid-pack, though, up on the pylon. Connor Harrington expecting a potential improvement at least a little bit here, possibly for lap 2. Harrington looking solid on that bottom.
Marquez to third. Here comes Harrington in the 44. To the line with a 25.324. He will improve, but not as much as Robert Malechka, as the Power Slide 91 machine goes to the top of the board.
Robert Malechka the third, backing up the qualifying speed showcased the past year and a half in this series for him. Blocker nearly smacking the wall, though, down the back straightaway. Can Blocker turn things around starting tonight in what's been not the greatest of seasons for the Lionheart King coming into this year?
Well, here he comes.
Trying to hold a crown.
The defending champion with a 25.242 will not best his teammate, will go to 4th. As right now, the top 2 split by 0.02 of a second. Andrew Kinsella will wind up his second lap, finishing down in 11th. But now we really wait for one man and one man only as Alexander Van der Sant builds for lap number 2.
Matt Taylor we've seen for a moment up inside the top 5, but Van der Sant, one of the quickest drivers in final practice, trying to use every bit of real estate in the bottom. Might have been a little bit too low there. Had to wash up the racetrack.
Can Van der Sant do it? A 25.195. It will be pole position number 1 for Alexander Van der Sant. And for the first time this season, a Power Slide 1 and 2 on the top of the board.
What a run once again for Van der Sant. Looking like this might be one of those nights for the 96. No cross right there as well with Malechka the third, going to keep things tight. Tony Shaw and Luis Gonzalez Nunez, the last drivers to take times here, though.
Tony Shaw with a 25.404 will bump him up to 15th. Not going to be good enough to get him to where his teammates will start this race. My oh my, what a session for Powerslide Motorsports in a year dominated by the private label Team Hype Machine. We're ready to go racing in the shadow of the Gateway Arch. Let's dial you through the starting grid for round 15, the HyperX 200 at Gateway. In his 15th career start, Alexander Van der Sant becomes the fastest man in Lionheart. Alongside will be his teammate Robert Milechka with a quarter of a tenth of a second splitting the two of them. Philip Kraus and Jason Brophy will line up alongside one another, the teammates, on row number 2. The defending champion lines up inside of Matt Taylor with a great qualifying performance from the Madworks Motorsports number 8. Pinheiro up there in 7th with Marquez alongside. Harrington and Rigney will bookend the top 10 with Matthias Kraus continuing the great vein of form that he's found in the mid-season. Mitchell Riggs alongside him with 13th seeing Chris Lanini, Bradley Sexton to his right-hand side. Tony Showen and Andrew Kinsella, the teammates, will share row 8 with Kite Bommersback and Brian Carey lining up 17th and 18th. Larkamp and Beard make up the rest of the top 20. With 310 splitting the top 20, Guyon finds himself in 21st with Tyler Graff in some new colours alongside. Joshua Chin has got plenty of work to do. Kenny Carver's way forward from 23rd. He'll have Joe Branch for company with Fraser, Houston and Nunez, the final cars with lap times on the board. Jenkins and Brandt will bookend the field of 29 Dallara IR18s as we run you through our butt kicker starting grid. It is an exciting feeling as always for the drivers as they build and get ready to go racing for 160 laps here under the sun at the Gateway Motorsports Park. As always, we have featured onboards to run you down through. Let's do that now as the cars get ready to roll. Starting, of course, with the Moser Racing onboard camera carried by Mike Rigney. Redefining sim racing, go further, go faster with Moser Racing. Visit moserracing.com.
The next level racing on board tonight, carried by Andrew Kinsella. Take your racing to the next level. Visit nextlevelracing.com.
Tyler Graff carries the Gomez Sim Industries camera, makers of high-end esports equipment and controls. Visit gomezsimindustries.com.
Connor Harrington has the HyperX onboard camera tonight. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game.
And as always, the delights of sim racing will have onboard looks throughout the field, cameras placed where real-world directors could only dream. JP, as we build, the tension bubbles to the surface. Your expectations as we build for 160 laps here at Gateway.
Expecting a strategy blunder when it comes to the potential to caution flags here tonight. If you want to win this race, you need to be able to guess right and time up right on these strategies. The question is, which strategy will be the one that gets you to the front at the right time, Arjuna?
Mid-entry expected to be dangerous. Will you put yourself in the danger zone by trying an undercut? Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart, and this is the Gateway Arch. We are in the shadow of the Gateway Arch. We're ready to go for the HyperX 200 at Gateway. It's a great start from Van der Sant as he builds into turn number 1. Malechka able to comfortably slot in line as Brophy powers around the outside of turn 1. A good start at the front as we begin to single file out. Here comes Blocker on the charge.
Alright, bit of hard defense. Van der Sant not wanting to give up the bottom, going to the corner. That really checked up Blocker though from fifth on back.
Leading lap 1 though will be Van der Sant, converting his pole position to the clean air that he'll enjoy at least at the opening stages of this race. 29 cars rolled at the start. Of course, traffic will be a factor. The question will be when. Cautions, not an if, but a when. At least from expectations up and down through the paddock, you can see just how much they are jockeying outside of the top 20. Inside of the top 10, Pinheiro feeling the pressure. Harrington working forward.
Pinheiro trying to make the outside line work all the way to the wall, in fact, a little bit here. Just looking like some of these drivers try to walk on eggshells, make sure they don't lose that front nose and spin this car around through the corners, since that's how sharp this thing has been bobbling around for some of the drivers in practice tonight. The main importance, though, get to the bottom if you want to make a move in 3 and 4. That's been the line that usually has worked in the past.
Blocker still working now on Brophy, who's lost touch of his teammate up front, at least relative to the gaps in front. Sometimes when you come to Gateway, you do see the leader able to break away, not at least for the time being. Van der Sant only half a second clear of his teammate as Blocker goes on the offense again into turn 3. He'll lunge to the inside once more, trying to slide up the groove, but Brophy powers around the outside, maintains 4th for the time being.
You mentioned how loose these drivers are out of turn 2. It is expected to be a little bit bobbly out of turn 4 as well, but the main thing I've noticed is Blocker, when he's been trying to make these passes, is quicker than Brophy, but is almost getting pushed tight, getting on apex off. That's why he's having such a big difficulty here. Watch, you see right there. Has to lift off the gas a little bit to make sure he keeps it off of Brophy. This time he's in a little bit better position.
Was a little bit more committed to the throttle there, still cannot make it stick, but has an overlap on the entry into turn 1, will wash up the track. Brophy gives him room, some respectful racing between the two of them, but near disaster, and near disaster in the back. Kinsella goes scrambling, Lanini as well, Shawan in the wall, surely the caution will fly.
Just to the edge of the racetrack, and somehow, no caution. We found a spot of the track that isn't a caution trigger, apparently, down the backstretch.
Incredible. I do not know how the caution did not fly. By every right, it should have. Kinsella still struggling, potentially with some damage, tucked down low and just unable to power off the corner. How dangerous a situation that looks. However, only 2 cars emerge with significant damage. Shawan straight back to pit lane. Guyon limping his car around the track.
Hearing some of that also spelled around Andrew Kinsella, possibly, who set a builder for this, may have gotten a big bobble in that circumstance. Take a look at what happened, because that was a major, major stack up. Still, the rest of the drivers able to keep it green.
Still remarkable how that wasn't a caution. I think that is what most of us are thinking about. Let's dive into the RaceSpot TV replay as Guyon does roll. So we'll see the spin in front of Kinsella. Oh, in front of Shawan, excuse me, and Guyon and Shawan just get pinched together by one another. Unfortunate situation for the two of them, but JP, talk us through what happens to the 41.
We talked about the oversteer at him. We've seen this plenty of times in the practice. Just as they come across the edge of the seams, just bobbles it around. That checks up the pack. And that's where that contact with Tony Shaw and Alex Guyon comes in. They were trying to avoid that.
We'll take one more look at it and we'll jump on board with Guyon, because you'll just see that Shawan, in trying to avoid the incident, just washes up the track, racing incident, and then they find this pocket where somehow we do not bring out the caution.
Yeah, the back straightaway exit. I don't think I've ever seen cars usually stop there. Maybe that's why there wasn't the trigger.
Never. It scared me a little bit as well when I saw them there, because I had no expectation for what was going to happen. We check back in with the group up front as Brophy continues to struggle. Van der Sant able to bring the gap over a second to his teammate Malechka. Brophy has got the train forming behind him, not just Blocker tucked up behind, but Harrington as well. Blocker trying to find the momentum, trying to find the run as they come into turn number 1.
I think Blocker's trying a different approach here, trying 1 and 2 instead, and that's a little bit sketchy. Just a little bit close on the contact, and at this point, this has to be frustrating. Blocker is pretty quick. The problem is, he just isn't getting the runs he needs to fully clear by Brophy into the corner.
I would argue if this is, I would question rather, if this is smart on either part right now. Brophy clearly thinks that he's still technically in the draft of Kraus and not losing that much ground. Maybe wonders that if he wasn't forced into the defense so much, he'd have some better luck. Marquez, the New York native in the 63 Alcantech NHR Esports machine, has had another issue off turn 2, but these drivers have been able to hang on to it. It's been some good car control on display.
Question is, for how long? The track conditions are still fairly hot, mind you. Then I think we found a little bit of a pattern too, because first seam, you get your left side tires underneath that first seam at the wrong spot of the exit, that car's automatically going in the bobble. Exact same thing in the exact same spot as Kinsella.
Hasn't lost too much ground. Gets his tires back underneath him. We check back in at the front of the field and we note that in the top 5, no changes on the start. Harrington has proven that he's got the best handle on the car and the in-car adjustments by working his way up to 3rd, where we find the front 6 positions locked out by just 2 teams. It's Powerslide versus private label team hype as we tick over to what will be lap 16 of 160, with the fuel window being between 41 to potentially 44 laps, and danger expected on pit entry. JP, we know that some of these drivers will be keeping in mind the reality that is fuel saving.
Now, the fuel saving in the midst of the draft expect to be pretty critical in terms of stretching out, because you could potentially lose a lap, if not two, if you pit under green flag conditions. And this entry, too, as we've seen over time, Arjuna, with how you have to enter it, there's been a few times the cautions come out from someone overshooting that entry, spinning it up onto the bank and into turns 3 and 4. So you have to be very careful and very precise on those movements, and hence why some drivers are very timid on having a pit stop under green here.
Bombers back in Groff. Battle, but Groff unable to convert. A move attempted into turn 1, as these drivers now fall a second off the back of 15 spot Brian Beard in the number 5 bright yellow machine. We look rearwards from the 37. Tyler Groff coming off the delight of the victory, and what a dramatic victory it was as well. Chicagoland, a very different type of a race to what we've got in store today, and that is what the challenge that we well and truly have come to love about American open wheel racing. Blocker with a better charge again through turn 3 and 4, but still the outside line reigns supreme. Brophy frustrates continually. It's Blocker that surges up high.
Trying to build up an hour run for the run to turn 3, and again, just that bottom of the racetrack, just having a lift off to be able to prevent contact, and Blocker just seems to be not as good in 3 and 4 in general compared to Brophy in terms of those lines. So this has just been a bad equation to where Blocker is better at one half of the racetrack, just can't find any way to get around the run. You see right there, 1 and 2 in particular, Brophy is struggling.
Blocker has been historically good here, the lap time leader in this series with 235 coming into tonight. Again, we'll try and throw the slide, but Brophy pinches him this time back. Again, Blocker with a good run of 4, unable to convert. And these are the moments that you question your approach and you wonder if you're overcommitting your tires, and realize Connor Harrington is coming with a head of steam built up.
If Harrington's able to close up is the major question. He's been able to maintain within this distance for the past about 5-10 laps, just hasn't been able to fully close it up though. If they start to get major checkups though, how does Harrington play it? We'll have to wait and see. So far, Harrington just seems to be content just riding and saving.
Another driver we mentioned, of course, with Tyler Groff's success on Monday night, but Jacob Oster on the podium in the Lionheart Speedway Series will be stepping up to the IndyCar Series next time out at Motegi for a trial couple of runs in 2022, hopefully building, of course, to a full-time campaign in 2023. Will be fascinating to see what the factory back driver will do. We'll be technically replacing a driver at factory backs with Alexis Newsom, our 2021 Speedway Series champion, stepping back from the series for the rest of the year. We wish Alexis well and look forward to hopefully having her back for 2023. So as Sexton and Marquez battle for 12th, Kraus has been slightly able to break away from Jason Brophy. Now 9/10 the separation between 3rd and 4th spots.
Even with the amount of battling, would expect it to be a bit of a quicker breakaway, but I think at this point it's just the matching of the speeds, just about. Within about 1/10 of a second, even with the side-by-side between Kraus and Brophy. Kraus is a little bit quicker in the draft. And eventually, though, you have to remember this will all compress, especially with Van de Sant's 1.5 second lead or so. When they reach the back end of that traffic where Matt Houston, Jay Brandt, Andrew Gonzalo, Luis Gonzalez Nunez are down the front straightaway currently. That's where it will really be a true challenge for the 96 to hold on to the race lead.
You can see, of course, in the track map, not just the gap between 1st and 2nd, but the dwindling margin that Van de Sant enjoys to the tail end of the pack. Currently 1st and 27th, those still running, separated by just under 16 seconds, with lap times hovering around 26-27 seconds here. We'll see how quickly Van de Sant is able to carve his way forward on the lap traffic. Rigney dives to the inside through turn 3. able to slide on past the Brazilian Adriano Pinheiro as Rigney works up another spot. Pinheiro bleeds another spot. He's down 2 from where he started.
Not too much of a drop-off, we'll say. The biggest loser of the field so far, outside of Chris Linney, who had the biggest bobble, has really been Andrew Marquez, who has been a -5 so far. It's to where if you've qualified well, you're likely to be able to hold on to some of that track position for the most part. It's the difficult part of gaining it. That was the major talking point. Graf and Shin are trying to cut through the pack in 16th and 17th respectively, for example.
Chin's not done a bad job along with Graf, +6 the both of them, as behind them Bommersback loses another spot to Chris Lanini in the 92, although having said that, the Ascari Autosport machine could have thought about fighting it back on that outer groove that we've seen Brophy defend to superb aplomb. Will not elect to do so, at least for the time being. Yes, first and second are split by 1.5. Brian Carey separated from 13th by 1.1 seconds, but it really hasn't separated out in terms of the pack as much as I expected. It is as difficult to pass as I thought it would be, JP.
It's about as difficult as I expected it to be as well, based on the track's history. It is expected when we see these shorter ovals to be a very difficult circuit to try and make moves on. There's not as long straightaways to be able to get runs on, to be able to build up that speed. And so far, the rhythm's settling on in, but we're about 10 laps away or so from the first pit window opening up for this race. And that will be a critical part of this, to where if we get green flag pit stops, does everyone handle it cleanly? Do we see undercut attempts? The fall off hasn't been a factor though. That's the major concern about the undercut, I think. It's only been a 1/10 of a second a lap difference on the fall off meter. Yeah, between freshies and oldies.
Drivers are expecting a maximum fall-off as well of half a second, which is really not that much at this sort of a track as well. At a place like Iowa, Richmond, you'll see a much larger fall-off. Let's talk about Van der Sande very quickly as he continues to pound away at the front of the field, turning around the laps. We'll question if he'll be the first one down to pit lane. I'd argue that maybe with the benefit of the cleanest air, he's been able to still save some fuel, but cast your mind back to upstate New York and Watkins Glen. Caution on lap number 1, and after that, Phil Kraus and Alexander Van der Sande put on a duel to rival all the battles that the series has ever seen. In what has been a dominant year for Philip Kraus, Alexander Van der Sande beat him on track and beat him with the style and confidence of someone that has not won just the one race in his 15 races in this series.
He's been close a few times this season on the ovals in particular. Van der Sande has. It's just been the matter of just putting it fully together. There's been a couple cases where Van der Sande's had a front wing change or made a speeding penalty or made a major mistake in pit lane, and that's what's really cost Van der Sande at least 2 or 3 more victories this campaign. Otherwise, we might be talking about a little bit of a different championship. Instead, Van der Sande still having a solid point season, having a really strong race, hope maintaining that gap as we take a look at the battle with Blocker and Brophy that has fallen more than a second back across and Malechka the third.
Yeah, I think at this point Blocker as well has given up any patience, thoughts regarding patience, and continues to work the top groove trying to find an opportunity to throw a lunge. Of course, don't forget what a spectacular season Connor Harrington had in 2021. Just like Van der Sande was matched up in a year where Kraus was unbeatable, Harrington found himself matched up with Blocker, who was in 2021 the unbeatable force. Lap 36 of 160. Of course, about 10 laps away from the largest we expect drivers to theoretically be able to take this. Not expecting a fuel mileage race without a caution, and we haven't seen one just yet. See if the caution cycle will be the thing that brings it out, although there are still some side-by-side battles. Sexton and Marquez duel on the exit of turn 2.
And you see the side-by-side how it's faring out here. This is what Blocker's been trying to set up, to where he's about that length, if not right about the halfway point of the car to his outside to make the pass. That's why it's been so difficult for Blocker to get it done in Brophy. He isn't reaching as further up as he needs to. Same thing you can say right here. If you're able to force a mistake from the driver up top, you're able to make the move. If you're able to pinch down like that, like Matthias Kraus, you're able to hold on and defend, and you lose your momentum just like that. And that's what we've seen so far. Majority of these battles, such as Brophy and blockers.
It's a stark contrast when you compare today's race to what we saw at Michigan, where passing was easy because it was a pack race. Today, you very much have to toil away at it. You work, you find the rhythm, you find the opportunity. Good things are not handed to you in a series as competitive as this Lionheart IndyCar series. Taking over to lap 39, one lap closer, of course, to a pit stop window. Never seen a repeat winner, of course, at this track. Two drivers have been able to take consecutive pole positions, with Dan Guerin and Adam Blocker going 4 years in a row, locking out the pole between the two of them. And while we haven't seen a pass for the lead so far today, Season 6, we saw 40 swap-arounds for the lead in what was a difficult race for all.
Yeah, some of these races have been difficult throughout the campaign, to say the very least. Michigan, I think you can say, Arjuna, apologies if I'm jumping a couple of columns there on the point trying to be made there, was difficult for many to be able to try and keep clean in the first place.
That too,
Remember,
yes.
with it being a tight confine. So, this is also the tough race, though, for some of our drivers like Joshua Chin, who didn't qualify too well. For some of the others like Tyler Graff, who's been surprisingly doing well in qualifying in Speedway, but not so much in IndyCar. It's been a grind, and that's the tough thing. It's been like trying to pressurize a mistake, and the problem is the mistakes haven't been coming. In fact, if anything, everyone's been able to, despite the loose car on the short run, really been able to hold on and as things have tightened up long run.
And we were told estimated fuel window between 41 and 43 laps. The fact that Van der Zandt has completed 43 indicates to me drivers are aware of just how important it is going to be the last to pit in this opening salvo of the race. It will flip around at the end when you want to be the first to pit last. But here comes Van der Zandt rolling to pit road. You can see him using the access lane on the entry, on turn number 3. Nice and tidy. Van der Zandt locks up, but rolls to the lane.
Nice and smooth, and remember, this is going to be tricky for some to be able to maintain the speed limit, but also make sure they don't carry too much speed and shoot the car off onto the access road. The difference some of the drivers have confidence-wise can be as much as 20 miles an hour down to that access road.
You'll lose about a lap and then 10 seconds at this track when you pit, so keep that in mind. Brophy will lead Blocker and Harrington onto pit entry. Crucial entry for these three. Can Blocker get it done? With lane-to-lane execution here. In front of them, the cars that pitted 1 lap ago roll, having finished their service.
Some of the drivers noticed just not getting as good of a roll compared to what they can. Robert Malechka, the third at the air end of the pit lane, just rolled into the lane at least 10 miles an hour slower than the 96 did. That may cost Malechka, the third, some time to some of these drivers who came in a little bit faster. There's the run Blocker needed.
Blocker will beat Brophy off of pit lane. It is going to be close on the exit, and they'll almost make contact. They'll race side by side off a pit exit. Brophy leaves the space. Blocker roars in front. They lost ground, though, in the battle for the net race lead, as Alexander Van der Zandt built a 5-second margin to Blocker, Brophy, and Harrington. We watch Malechka off of pit exit. Houston is the final car still left on track, yet to roll down to pit road, and while Malechka works through turn 1 and 2 on the access road, there goes Van der Zandt back to the race lead.
Kraus gained a little bit of time on his entry for reference by about a couple tenths of a second, but look at how much time they lost in that next grouping. Blocker, Brophy, Harrington checked each other up with that side-by-side. Half a second quicker was Blocker in the pit lane, and at that point, you have to say to yourself, you got to give up the ghost there to prevent the contact. You can't just race side-by-side at a one-lane pit exit.
I'm sure that is going to be a moment talked about between the two At the conclusion of this race, Graf works to the inside of Chin, who almost runs himself into the wall on the exit of turn 2, but Joshua Chin knows where the walls are, he knows where the limits are. The 93 holds on to 13th spot.
And both of these drivers gained some time and some positions, at least 2 or 3 apiece in that pit window. Chin more so with an 8.6 second pit stop. They were among those who attacked that entry the best out of anybody in this pack. Now it's the tough thing. Get up to Bradley Sexton for Chin. Should be able to crawl forward. Was a 1/10 of a second quicker than Graf last time by.
Remember, these two have been working together lockstep, but for your leader, here comes the challenge that will be persistent through the rest of this race if we go green from here, which is lap traffic and plenty of it. Van der Sande is tucked up behind Matt Houston in the number 66 Team Raceverse car, who is not making life easy as he tries to hold on to the race leading lap,
He gained a little bit of time, in fact, trying to pass by that lap car, surprisingly. But that's going to be the major challenge. Being able to handle the aero wash for the first time. Van der Sande's been in clean air this entire race. The time difference could be pretty drastic, to say the least, in the midst of some of this traffic now. Locker, though, now that he's got some clean air to work with, he's starting to run away from Brophy, and this is what I was expecting if he was to get by the 88.
Yeah, as soon as he got the opportunity, lap by lap, 10th by 10th, has pulled away. A 10th that last time by has actually gained almost a 1/10 and a half up to Malechka and Kraus, 1.4 away from the back of the number 19 machine. Jay Brandt will return to pit lane. Not sure what's happened to him. Pinheiro as well. We'll try and figure out what happened to the 56 machine, but he will be our third retiree from the race. Guyon and Shawan, of course, in that early incident collected. Pinheiro, with his own struggles, retires. After what was such a promising start to the season, Justin, with 2 back-to-back poles, Pinheiro will be frustrated with how things have turned out.
Expecting a lot bigger things for Pinheiro, we'll say, this campaign. But now, that's the tough thing. You need to be able to prevent mistakes, and the mistakes have come on. Pedal failure, hearing for the 79, Brian Carey in the wall.
Not for the first time, Carey's got technical issues. However, he will control it down to the access road, and I believe we will stay green. It looks like a big contact for the Canadian with a rather worn and sorry Delara IR18, but Carey will nurse it to pit lane.
Obvious technical issue. He was over the radio saying he had a pedal failure right down the middle of the back straightaway. He just went from full throttle to no throttle and no brakes to be able to slow down to 79 as he cut through that grass. And Brian Carey, another technical issue, another bad stint of luck for Brian Carey as he tries to stop the car.
I remember a Indy 500 race that Brian Carey was racing and then had to pull off the track as a result of the technical issues. It's not the first time poor Brian Carey's luck continues to be on the downturn. Here's a look at what happened as we enter turn 1. Just listen. You can hear the throttle roll off, and when the throttle rolls off, more significantly, it means he's got no brakes. He takes to the grass, trying to use the wall to slow him down. It's about as heads up as you can expect to be.
And at this point, I think he realizes he's got no brakes. And if I understand the failure correctly with that he might have been half throttle, half brake available. That's about it. He was trying to use the wall to slow down to get into the pit lane to be able to get the tow. Carey's race done.
So, lap 58, and knock on wood, we've gone green so far today. We have gotten through a green flag cycle of pit stops. There was so much doom and gloom throughout the paddock about, oh, pit entry is going to be catastrophic. You want to be the first to pit, you want to be the last to pit first because there's such a danger of the caution coming out, but we really haven't had too much drama yet.
Don't jinx it.
I did knock on the wood. My race spot issued block of wood.
Wait, there's blocks of wood now issued?
No, technically no. Does a break from Indianapolis count?
Yes, that counts.
Close enough.
Anywho, but in all seriousness, this is now to where it might be difficult to get that caution unless somebody makes a major mistake in the midst of this, because some of these drivers have really spread out. Many packs have formed up, 2 or 3 cars. It's just a matter of just be smart. And that's easier said than done. Because...
No, well, to your point, being smart means if you have a 3-second lead at the front of the field and you're working through traffic, what do? Well, you don't force the issue. Yes, Van der Sat has had his lead cut down to 2.2, but he's still leading this race. We're not even the halfway marker of this race.
Exactly. So you need to be heads up in terms of how you're handling the traffic if you're someone in that situation. If you're one of the lap cars, you have to think about the scenario. Some drivers like to fight. Is that going to be the matter of a smart play? That's a thing that usually pops up a lot. So far, just a couple of drivers have been lapped in Laura Camp and Houston who are on the lead lap currently, or rather on the track currently. But here's the tough thing. Robert Malechka III is closing now that he's got a clean air pocket, and Van der Sant's lost that pocket.
2 seconds, and the traffic gives, the traffic takes, to quote the great John Heindorf of Radio Show Limited. You're not always going to win, so recognizing that and not getting frustrated in these situations is going to be key. Van der Sant has a couple more cars popping up in front of him with Paul Jenkins and Andrew Kinsella next up in line. Kinsella has lost a lot of time this lap. Of course, we saw the damage that he took in the moment that should have brought out a caution if you ask me, but he's still pounding in the laps down in 21st position.
He just hasn't looked comfortable tonight. Right there, for example, nearly into the wall yet again. Kinsella just struggling to be able to get that car to rotate properly.
I can also tell you that our gremlins behind the scenes have been trying to scrub through footage and pick up what happened with Pinheiro as well as Brandt, who were both retired from the race. We haven't figured out anything in particular. Maybe in a moment, a couple of laps prior to their retirement that saw them in the wall, and subsequently have to pull it down pit lane. 29 cars that started down to 24, of whom 22 are left on your leading lap. Winding to lap 66 of 160 with about 40 minutes still left to play. It's Van der Sant whose lead is cut down to 1.9 seconds. Malechka hunts down his teammate. Kraus, Blocker, Brophy make up the top 5. Harrington, Taylor, Rigney, Riggs, Kraus the top 10. And what a rich vein of form Matthias Kraus has bundled into over the course of the summer, JP. Doesn't matter where it's a road course, a super speedway, or a short oval, this 59 machine has been learning and picking things up quickly.
2 top 10s in the campaign, yes, but we've talked about it a fair bit, where his struggles were 35th, 40th, 31st to start off the season. Homestead, Long Beach, Kentucky, respectively. And then he started to find that consistent to be able to move up to the next level, up to the teams, or races he finished and or wasn't disqualified for, Nashville in the sim. Now he's taken the next level. Iowa, Road America in particular. Those are the top 10s he's gotten on the season, and that's the level that I think you need to be able to make as a newcomer to a series, is have a forward progression to where you learn the car, learn your competitors, learn as time goes on, to be able to get quicker and quicker. It's not going to be, in a lot of cases, boom, I've got a steering wheel and I immediately won 25 races in my first week on the sim. It's not how that works for most people.
No, definitely not. And while one Kraus is in 10th, the other's up in 3rd. To be caught, though, by Adam Blocker. While Malechka, Kraus, yes, have made progress on your race leader, the man that has made the most progress is the all-time laps leader in the Lionheart IndyCar Series at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, as Adam Blocker is closed to within 3.3 seconds of your race leader. We know that Blocker is coming off the high of the victory 7 days ago, but as we wind to the end of the year, the sole focus for the defending champion is going to be race victories and signing off with a bang.
Right now, he's one of the quickest cars on the racetrack, and I'm not shocked to see Blocker mow down these gaps. He's been able to make things work in the traffic throughout this entire race. We talked about his history at the racetrack. He's done well with the track in the past with the defending race winner last season from the pole. It's just a matter, though, of getting around that traffic efficiently, and he's been able to mow down the time despite the aero wash.
Of course, not far removed from the real-world weekends. The Bommarito Automotive Group 500 that they ran here, I believe, was the official race title. Always fun to see fans out at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Yes, maybe slightly delayed from when we wanted the racing to get underway. It's always scary as well when they're winding up on the formation laps and you hear the big bangs, the fireworks going off on the back straightaway. What a way to celebrate the start of an entertaining race. Short tracks are such a different sort of a rhythm that you find yourself in. If super speedway style racing is pod racing in Star Wars, you'd argue that maybe light speed jumping or light speed skipping is what short oval racing is, because you are always dealing with a new challenge, you're always dealing with dirty air, and when you get traffic, it is the most frustrating thing in the world.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing that people don't sometimes realize is it's not as simple as race car, go left, dive to the inside, hard braking, try to outbrake someone else. In IndyCar and the R18, it takes a lot of finesse, it takes a lot of guessing on what line your opponent's going to take. It takes a lot of precision, and it takes a lot of luck in some cases of the timing of where you're reaching some of the traffic. For example, Kraus now has some clean air, now been able to break away from the traffic. Locker, he's stuck behind traffic. You compare that as well to Van de Sant. Van de Sant's got clean air, he's lapped by Kinsella. Now he has a chance to gain on time. Malechka third, he fed traffic. That's the swinging back and forth too in terms of that luck. You have to be able to handle with the ebbs and flows. You never know when the traffic's going to give it. You never know if the traffic's going to take it. You never know if the traffic's going to decide to take it 3 wide in front of you in the battle for 21st position.
Yeah, we've never seen that before. Never seen that before. And you can see from the track map as well just how spread out the field has got around the 1.25 miles at this Worldwide Technology Raceway. What a wonderful facility it is as well. Not just in the real world. They are proud partners of other IndyCar series here in iRacing. Great virtual partners to us on iRacing overall. But from 2008, in the midst of the financial crisis and the facility being closed, on the brink of demolition, to being one of the few tracks that can say they host both the NASCAR Cup Series and the NTT IndyCar Series in the same calendar year, JP.
It's been a historic swing for this racetrack, an historic turnaround. This facility becoming one of those where Bobby Krug, for example, we've seen from Skip Barber competition, big part of their offices and getting the racetrack going, picking up his first career pole, in fact, just recently with Skip Barber. Amongst those coming from this facility in this background, especially with the kartplex that's in the infield here. And this racetrack has seen plenty of growth, absolutely, over these past few years, and plenty of excitement, and a prime location, too, because of its vicinity to St. Louis.
It's where Romain Grosjean got his start with oval racing, fell in love with it, and, well, became a full-time competitor in the NTT IndyCar Series here in 2022. Of course, Will Power earning his 67th pole position, tying him with Mario Andretti for the all-time qualifying record. Love this track, always enjoy the various challenges that we face across of America. While Josh Chin works on the back of Bradley Sexton, JP are about 10 laps away from another pit stop cycle as we worked past the halfway point of the race.
It's gone by quickly, to say the very least. Expecting 2 more pit stops, including this one coming up. Van de Sant has seen that lead shrink from 3 seconds down to 1.3 with a lot of the traffic. Now here comes the tough play. It's a battle for position up the road. This is where you really need to be smart, and this could really cost some time. Luis Gonzalez Nunez, though, electing to pit instead.
It was Bomber's back who was dueling with the team Sim Race 24/7 car. The 14 will dive down. The gap between first and second At one point, as we worked out of the first cycle of pit stops, over 3 full seconds, Robert Malechka has been on the hunt, has been on the charge, has brought the gap down to just under 1 second.
It's taken a lot of work to get there last time by, gaining 0.3 of a second in the 25.8 still. The traffic's been very cordial when it comes to the 91 situation. Now, though, with the aero wash starting to become a bit of a factor possibly with that aero wake, how much will that slow down in terms of that pace? How will Van de Sande try to attack this pit lane too? Remember, Van de Sande had an 8.3 second pit stop, one of the quickest in the field last time out.
Works past the Ascari Autosports car with no major drama. Van de Sande pitted first, remember, because he's been leading the entirety of the race. Apart from the pit stop cycles, we'll see if Malechka has been burning through a bit more fuel this run, trying to close the gap. They were offset by 2 laps in the previous cycle of pit stops. They have dropped Philip Kraus. Blocker hasn't been able to work forward as well as it runs right now. It is a 2-car fight for the lead. Blocker working on Kraus for third. Brophy, well, unfortunately for him, at one point, Blocker was right with the 88 car. Now, Brophy finds himself almost 3.5 seconds behind the battle for the podium spots.
Just doesn't seem to have the grip on the exit of turn 2 compared to some of the others, and that's what's costing Brophy right there again. Losing more time, coming off the corner. That's been his bugaboo this entire run.
Bomber's back, rolls to pit entry. Nice and tidy, great shot through the access road, and then the late commitment with the cones offset all the way down the lane. It's what JP was talking about earlier with Van de Sande just being so much more committed on the entry to pit lane. But it's not just there that Van de Sande has found time. When Van de Sande took victory at Watkins Glen, every time that Kraus and Van de Sande came into the pit stops lockstep, Van de Sande found time, dropping from the jacks and rolling from the box. He is a master of releasing the clutch. Van de Sande very good at all aspects of pit lane. Taylor, the 8-car rolls from inside the top 10 as pit stops become a reality.
That entry and exit can cost you as much as 3 seconds if you aren't strong enough on that entry, as confident enough as you need to be on that entry. Van de Sande, I'm keeping my eye on how he handles this run. We are on lap 44 of the stint. Might see the peak out maybe this time by based on the last run. Looking like he's thinking about it. Watch the speed. Right down to the lane, right down to that apron. A little bit slower this time compared to last time on the entry point, but able to lift up as soon as he knows he's got the grip. Gets it down to 45 right at the cone.
Love it. Great onboard ride with Alex.
Caution.
Oh, and this is crucial. Mitchell Riggs has lost it, and the caution flies as Van de Sande was already down on pit lane. Now, a number of cars will be trapped a lap down potentially, but in the blink of an eye, the race is flipped on its head.
What did I say about pit entries and the potential of a caution flag? This just flipped the race.
Sorry, JP. Harrington is having to roll through pit lane because he didn't enter. He didn't get to the commitment cones before the timing of the caution. Brophy, Blocker, Van de Sande were able to pit. How crucial a margin is that going to be? Where do they come out in comparison to the race leader?
Black flag Connor Harrington hearing over the radio for the 44.
Exiting closed pits. Entering closed pits, rather.
Same was he was committed, but the tough thing is you're not going to be able to get out there in time without making contact with the wall, but it's also the time of the caution, right? Now it gets interesting for the rest of these drivers how this fares out as the field tries to cycle.
I can understand the frustration for Connor Harrington, however, it's one of those racing things. Racing is sometimes unfair as cars scramble around. We'll get the rejigged order up in just a couple of moments' time, and then we'll take a look at how this caution came to pass. Malechka, Kraus, the top 3 as they enter pit lane. Van de Sande, Blocker will line up at the tail end of the line that is already formed behind the safety car. And as Connor Harrington waits to be released to exit pit lane, Van der Sat and Blocker will regain their spots at the very front of the field. Jason Brophy 1 lap down because he rolled from pit lane just a couple of seconds behind Adam Blocker.
And I believe Van der Sat and Blocker are indeed, the race leaders here. So they just got a major lucky break by being able to roll out of that entry and didn't get themselves pinned behind the pace car. Looking like Brophy, though, having to let cars go. There he is.
Brophy, I think, is 1 lap down. And we'll take a look at multiple things. Let's start with just what happened. Let's start with the initial incident. And Riggs loses it by himself. What a close call for some cars that were flying through as well. Jump on board with the Ascari Autosports car and go for a ride with the 09 machine. As he tries to commit to pit lane, just too late. You're never going to get it slowed down in time.
Bad angle, was even snapping around before he even hit the apron. With how much speed he was carrying, trying to arc it down, that was just a little bit too late of a commitment.
And to show you the timings related to the caution, I tell you what, there is no better way than to do this in real time. So watch the replay, and as soon as the crash happens, we will go over to Connor Harrington. So the crash is happening. You can see Brophy's at the line, and as the caution flies, Harrington by inches, by feet, it doesn't matter the margin. What matters is he lost out.
Yeah, by that point, you're not getting back on the racetrack. So it's just the top timing of when that was there. And now, field's been kind of flipped a little bit. Matthias Kraus amongst those who really gains track position. Josh Chin picked up plenty of spots as a result of the time of the caution flag. A lot of drivers having to take wave arounds here. Here's another replay.
So watch on the outside for the private label Team Hype car. There comes, well, behind him is going to be Matthias Kraus. Already having gone forward was Phil Kraus, Brophy's teammate. That was the margin that saw Brophy find himself on the wrong side of the lap counter. There is Blocker. I'm trying to show you. There you can see the pink machine. It's so difficult to try and figure out what's going on, JP. But needless to say, a very different situation to how we entered this cycle of pit stops.
Delayed green, so they'll go to the back of the field. The wave around drivers going to the back.
Still trying to figure stuff out, of course. It takes some time when it's as confusing as a situation as we have right here.
So now we'll have to really see how this plays out. Right now, looking like 13 drivers on the lead lap last time around scored.
13 scored on the lead lap, 23 scored as running, after Mitchell Riggs is also now retired. So Van der Sat will be thrilled because that had the potential to steal the chance to fight for victory if it had come 10 seconds before it did. It was as close as that. Jason Brophy and Connor Harrington find themselves outside of the top 15 now in a day where Powerslide Adrenaline, currently run 1 and 2. There is still a large gap in our HyperX Teams Championships, JP. Is this the day, though, when Powerslide Adrenaline tries to kick it into overdrive?
I think at this point you take the chance, right? This is a prime opportunity to be able to gain some team points now at this point. So at this point, get as many as you can. This is a rare opportunity where you have a slip-up like this with private label Team Hype having some bad luck come into play. May as well finish as high as you can as a group. Keep it clean. See what happens amongst yourselves.
Kinsella is 1 lap down as well, the third member of Powerslide Adrenaline. He'll be battling with Brophy and Harrington, while Phil Kraus, that third member of the private label Team Hype championship leading outfit, runs in 4th behind 3 Powerslide Motorsports teammates, 2 of them fighting in the team championship. It's going to be tricky from here. Still 1 cycle of pit stops left to play. One caution at Gateway has changed the complexion of the race, but Alexander Van der Zandt has dominated. Can he dominate as we get back underway for the HyperX 200 at Gateway?
Nice clean launch up at the front. Now, how do things fare out in that battle for third? Kraus bunched right back up at the 91, getting some good exits coming up the turn.
Building speed all the while. Separation between second and third. Separation between fourth and fifth. One of the big recipients of luck in this cycle of cautions includes the likes of Matthias Kraus and Joshua Chin, who now find themselves fifth and seventh respectively as we finish lap number 1 and traffic is playing its part.
Once those in that traffic, Brophy and Harrington looking to fight for position. They're not backing down despite being teammates here.
These are all the cars one lap down, fighting 17th on back. Brophy and Harrington side by side as they wind off of turn 4. In front of them, their teammate Josh Chin in the 93 looks down low on Sexton. Sexton was able to frustrate Chin all the way through the middle stages of the race. He'll look to do the same as we wind to the final 60 laps of this race.
Just can't get his way around quite yet. Just going to take some time for Joshua Chin to set this up. He is a little bit quicker throughout the corners though.
In-car adjustments where Chin will be finding time as Adam Blocker punches in the fastest lap of the race, a 25.556, the top 3 now in lockstep with Kraus behind them as well. Separation between 7th and 8th as Matt Taylor runs 2.4 seconds away from this battle. That sees Chin and Sexton side by side with traffic all the way in between them. That will be the talking point for many of those still left on the lead lap but separated from the front of the group.
Chin was just able to get the right diamond down off of turn 2 to set up that pass for turn 3. Now the tough thing though is, how does Blocker play this out? He's had to claw his way up here, had to work his way around for much of this race around Brophy. Now has a good chance to get around Van der Zandt, turning their fastest laps of the race in the 25.503s.
These were 2 expected to be quick, and they've broken away from Milechka in the 91 machine, now 1 second away, within drafting range, but losing the majority of that benefit as he looks to hold off Kraus, Chin, Sexton. What a day it would be for Matthias Kraus if he can lock in his 3rd top 10 of the season, his 2nd top 5. There is a long way to go, JP, and we know that Gateway still has plenty of surprises left in store.
A lot can happen, especially with there still being one more pit stop to get to the end. It's just a matter of, can these drivers keep it clean with 58 to go this time?
It was looking so good to go caution-free in the shadow of the Gateway Arch, but Mitchell Riggs' spin changed the equation for so many. You're watching RaceSpot TV and the 2022 Lionheart IndyCar Series, the HyperX 200 at Gateway. Don't go anywhere. The run to the checkered flag is interrupted by yet another caution. It's Brophy and Harrington that come to blows, and just as we were about to go to commercial break, 3 cars find themselves in the wall.
Oh boy, it looks like Brophy's struggles in 1 and 2 have reached a tipping point, because he was ahead of Harrington, no contact between them until Brophy just looped it around, following the car in front, same tire tracks, and collected his teammate and a couple others.
Let us dial up the replay. Let us figure this one out. We have truly been gazumped by the timing of this caution. So into 1 and 2 they go. Harrington sitting back, and you can see the over-rotation. Getting collected in this one is Chris Lanini, I believe, who is up high, tries to slow it down in time, but it's one of those situations where it's just too difficult to do so. Lanini, from being on the lead lap, finds his race done and dusted in the blink of an eye.
Exact same tire tracks, and what happens with Lanini here? Wow.
He's trying, but when you're tucked up high and you've got cars to your inside, there is only so much you can do. That is why we find ourselves under caution for the 2nd time today. And cautions breed cautions, but JP, with only 10 laps or so splitting us from potentially the mark that would get drivers to the end of the race, it is maybe not a shock to see a couple roll to pit lane.
Matt Taylor taking a gamble. It looks like Tyler Graff also taking the gamble. And that is a mighty big gamble. You're hoping there's several more cautions at this point, Arjuna, for that to try and work. It doesn't lose you too much spots, though, because Taylor and Graff were towards the back either way. Those who were able to make it towards the end may as well try something different here, but with 55 to go, that's a mighty if it goes green.
I think the better call was to stay out. Of course, for Taylor and Graff, they will gamble that they stay on the lead lap. However, if we check in with them, JP, you will find they are at the very tail of the field. They are relying on lapped cars to come down to pit lane to get them closer to those in front. It's a gamble. It's a gamble that will require the cautions not just to fall, but to fall in their direction.
And not in front of their tire tracks.
That too, yes.
So, yes. So, in the direction luck-wise, but not in the physical direction of the way their car is going. So, it's going to be a tricky play, I think, for the 8 and the 98. Regardless of how you slice it here. You just need to be to where you have to hope it's a luck. You have to get the luck of the strategy. We talked about it. It's about a roulette of strategy in some cases here, and we're about to see it.
So Van der Sant, Blocker, Malechka, Kraus going to be stacked up once again. I mentioned earlier, don't count out Josh Chin. He's in 6th, up 17 spots so far today. With his short track expertise, with his fuel saving ability, could he be the one that spoils the power slide party at the very front of the field? Of course, next week it's over to Motegi, the site of Henry Bennett's sole Lionheart victory in 2021 and the site of plenty of drama last year across our championship competitions, JP. It's a difficult one. Very similar in some ways with its unique layouts, with each end of the track being very different to what we've got here today.
Of course, it's another one of those tracks, though. It's very difficult to pass that, as we both know, and as we've seen, if you are not the race leader. It will be another strategy roulette race. It's going to be important to qualify well, let's put it that way, at Twin Marine Motegi at the Oval.
So 54 to go, and with the lights off on the pace car, we are getting back ready to get underway. 2 cautions so far today. More than the sole caution we had last year, but before that, the minimum number of cautions was 4, the maximum being 7, so still trending in a positive direction if we can keep it clean from here. And I have no doubt that Jason Brophy is likely one of the more frustrated people about how that second caution played itself out. The pace car will pull off left, and the field again, for the 3rd time today, will be left in control of Alexander Van der Sant. He's got his teammates behind him for company, and as we get back underway for the HyperX 200 at Gateway, the teammates coordinate, they punch themselves into turn 1, lockstep.
Nice and clean to launch again. Malechka third, a little bit better of a launch compared to last time. Just a little bit of air wash on the bobble. Here comes Blocker, though, with a run.
Good run to the outside as they battle behind as well, with Chin trying to take advantage of the restart. Blocker commits to the high line. It frustrated him with Brophy, but as they're still building up temperature in the tires, as they're building up speed, can Van der Sant vanquish the defending champions side by side into turn number 1?
Blocker trying to pinch a little bit. Van der Sant hitting the scene.
Good ramp off the corner, and Blocker rips the lead away from the 96 of Alexander Van der Sant. For the first time today, we have a new race leader. His name is Blocker. He looks for back-to-back victories.
Now it's the matter, though, of can he hold on here. Van der Sant has dominated this race. It looks like Van der Sant being a little bit more patient now that he's in the dirty air. Blocker gaining plenty of momentum down the backstretch.
Remember, Van der Sant has dealt with dirty air and traffic, but never in the battle for the front of the field. What will it do to his confidence now as he settles into line, as he works to find the opportunity with the pit window opening in just a few laps' time. Blocker will go fastest of them all with a 25.468. The top 4 breakaway is a bit of a wobble there for Alexander Van der Sant, and now a chin past Kraus. I would not be shocked if he closes with this top 4 if it becomes 3 power slide drivers versus 2 from the stable of the private label Team Hype.
Well, have we seen that story before so far tonight? About 30 laps ago is what we've seen with different players. But Chin, I think, definitely has the pace, just didn't have the qualifying positioning before. Philip Kraus just can't close that aero bubble that's formed up.
Interesting to see the different lines being run with 49 to go. What a day it's been for some. A smaller field than what we've seen so far in the course of 2022. We are down to 20 cars still out there and lapping, with Brophy, Lalini and Harrington the latest casualties of the track. Mitchell Riggs has been able to get back out there and roll, looking for whatever points he can as he builds to the end of the season.
That'll be the interesting thing to see how this plays out the rest of the way. Still, most of the field having a pit in about 20 or so laps to make it to the end. But remember, Taylor and Graf rolled the dice. They are already within 1 second, it's worth noting, of Mike Rigney for 10th position as things play out late.
We'll try this again as we run our way to the checkered flag of round 15 in the 2022 Lionheart IndyCar Series. You're watching RaceSpot TV and the HyperX 200 at Gateway. It is now Adam Blocker that leads after ripping the lead away from Alexander Van der Sant, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on RaceSpot TV with a run to the checkered flag.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome back to RaceSpot TV and to the shadow of the Gateway Arch, where live from the Worldwide Technology Raceway, we welcome you back to round 15 of the 2022 Lionheart IndyCar Series, the HyperX 200 at Gateway. We are into the closing stages, into the window for the final pit stops of the day. We're alongside myself, Arjuna Kangipati, delighted to be joined by the one and only Justin Prince. And Justin, it's been a fascinating day so far with 2 cautions, one really changing the equation of the day for the likes of Jason Brophy and Connor Harrington. But it is a power slide 1, 2 and 3 as Philip Kraus and Joshua Chin work at the front of the field as we enter the closing stages of the race.
Power Slide has outright dominated this race. Every lap led has gone to either Blocker, Van de Sande, and Malechka. But Philip Kraus, remember, has kept things close. Kraus trying to have a bit of an improvement in the lineup. For Kraus, he's running in what could be one of his lowest ranked position finishes of the season.
38 to go. Do you gamble, JP, at this point? We've seen 2 cautions, yes, but we've seen plenty of clean green flag running from these drivers. There is the potential to make the undercut stick here. However, it will take some confidence. It's going to require some bravery to make passes stick once you get back on track as well.
That's a tough question because you're basically gambling on if there's going to be an air clean run to the finish here, or there's not going to be any attrition from that point forward. The undercut's been fairly strong today, surprisingly for some. It's just a matter of how aggressive you are on the pit entry too. Honestly, I'm not quite sure. It really depends on how the next few moments or so go, especially knowing some of the drivers have to come in the next 5 laps, some of those who take the wave around.
So with an estimated 15 minutes of running left, if we go green from here, question will be, is Van der Sande able to use the pit cycle to his benefit? This time we have not seen the leader break away to the same extent that we have on previous restarts. However, with Van der Sande's expertise navigating into and off of pit lane, that might be his primary opportunity to make something stick. Luis Gonzalez Nunez will be the first to blink for the final time as he brings the 14 to pit road.
That was expected. He was already at 42, 43 laps into the stint. For Van de Sande and Blocker and company, they can go another about 5 to 7 more laps at least. It's going to be down to how this pit entry goes. Van de Sande, if he nails the pit entry, might be able to find something over Blocker.
34 to go, becomes closer and closer at the line now. 33 as Kinsella and Frazier will battle for 14th and 15th spots after Kinsella's struggles in qualifying. Got trapped a lap down and has been trying to fight forward since then. Only one car in front of them left on their lap. Stefan Larkamp, 13th, runs directly in front of them. And while Kinsella holds off Frazier for now, here comes Jenkins going on the charge.
Plenty of traffic for some of these drivers having to navigate at the moment. Paul Jenkins having to come in the next couple laps. Frazier as well. Matthias Kraus, we haven't talked too much about him since getting some of the track position before. In line for another top 10 finish, would be 3 of the past 4 races inside the top 10 if that sticks for the 59.
Don't count him out from springing a surprise. Lap 40 of the run for Blocker. 41 for the likes of Marquez and Beard. So, pit window opens in these next couple of laps in terms of drivers running out of fuel. So, they will be forced, they will be required to dive their way to the safety of pit lane for the final time today. How are they going to plan out their strategy? Because the late race cautions have meant that traffic is unlikely to be a major factor through the rest of this race, JP. Even if you came in now, Blocker would find himself, yes, a lap down and 10 seconds back from where he is on track, but by no means is it the same struggles that we were seeing in the middle parts of this race.
Yeah, expecting this to be nice and clean with the amount of cars left, 19 running. It's going to come down to just how strong Van de Sande can drive in the traffic. Right now, Blocker is quicker in 1 and 2 in particular to be able to keep that clean air pocket. That's the tough balancing act for the 96. You see, for example, Van de Sande's able to take a nice wider sweep before the push up the corner. Blocker's been basically hammering it down to the bottom late and having to slide it up nearly to the wall to try and maintain the momentum, losing all that gap by the time the draft builds up down the front straight away.
You can see the pocket of traffic in front as they work to turn 3. But with 28 to go, someone decide it is worth the gamble of coming to pit lane slightly earlier than anyone else. We've talked about the dangers of pit entry. If there was ever a time to be worried about someone spinning, as they work their way down to the pit lane limit. Surely it would be today. Kinsella has lost a bunch of momentum and now holds off Fraser once more. It's been an entertaining day, an interesting day to say the very least for the 41 machine.
Near spin at one point, Kinsella was running 21st at one point as well, struggling. Still, I think is struggling a bit even in the midst of this traffic. It's just not been the greatest of days, I don't think, for Kinsella in general.
As the leaders work to traffic, Van der Sant closes. Such a wily character when it comes to working with the dirty air. Would be shocked if Van der Sant looked to get the pass done. Able to slide on through, but loses a bit of ground now. And traffic will break up the top four, JP. They will be thinking about it as they work closer and closer to the cycle.
Yeah, I'm already keeping my eye on that pit lane. Fraser coming in, for example, right now. No one wanting to blink yet, though. That's the thing I'm noticing.
I think if you're Joshua Chin, it's probably worth the gamble. If you're in front of him, it becomes less worth it. Of course, Kraus just looking to continue racking up the podiums as he continues to run in fourth. Less than 25 laps to go, though. And in terms of track conditions, we haven't really tracked them over the course of the evening, but it's almost 5 p.m. here on iRacing Day in the virtual gateway. Not that much wind. It's relatively warm for the tires. Already a track known. Putting plenty of load into the rubber. Graf stays out. Beard and Rigney roll to pit lane. More and more starting to dive to pit lane.
Those were the 11th and 12th place cars. No peel off for the race leaders yet. Approaching 20 laps to go. That gap has stagnated to about half a second. And that's the question mark. Does Van der Sant come in with blocker? And if so, how does that play out?
Marquez rolls to the lane. You mentioned this at Michigan, I think it was last week, JP, but teammates will be very reluctant to come in on the same lap to try and offset their entries just in case something happens. However, Blocker and Van der Sant commit on the very same lap. We'll get a battle in pit lane. Van der Sant deep on the brakes, almost into the back of his teammate, but makes up time as they roll to pit speed.
Near contact and near bumping each other. This is going to be a little bit risky for the entry. This might check up Van der Sant, in fact, when the blocker car has to peel off to the pit box.
Van der Sant will have the better pit stall, of course, as Blocker rolls to the pit box. Who will win this crucial race? Blocker has made the only on-track pass for the lead, but execution in pit lane going to be vital. Blocker, though, without much trouble, will retain control of the lead as they roll back onto track. The leaders try and hold an undercut with 20 laps still left to play.
That was mighty close to a blue cone violation for Van der Sant trying to peel off. And a big send for Kraus trying to get to the commitment cone.
Kraus will come in along with Matthias Kraus, so the duo of Krauses onto pit lane. Leaves Malechka, Chin, Taylor Graf still yet to roll to pit lane. Not expecting an undercut from Phil Kraus, but I've been shocked before. I won't be shocked again.
Malechka third trying to stretch with Josh Chin. Check that, Malechka third just got to the commitment cone himself. Where are they going to cycle compared to the others who are still separated by 4 car lengths down the front?
As Blocker works into one, Kraus still trying to ramp off the access lane. Going to be comfortable for the Power Slide duo to retain control of the race. Now, eyes focus on Malechka III, who enters his box with precision that we've come to know from the 91 machine.
I don't think they're going to cycle up towards the point here. In fact, they're just zipping by right now in the front straightaway. It's a 2-driver race for those who are on the main strategy at this point. Already Malechka third getting zipped on by. It is a little bit down on that gap though. He gained some ground but not enough.
Well, crucially, he holds on to third in the net battle for this race. Kraus will try it though with his tires up to temperature and pressure. Trying to take advantage. Comes Kraus, the championship leader, to the inside on the main straightaway with traffic to play a part as well. Phil Kraus robs third from Malechka III.
Here's the traffic as a pick, and that's not going to make much to the third happy. Kraus, who's been running 4th all race, takes advantage of the track situation and now looks to set sail.
That is the moment. That is a moment that only a driver who is at the very top of his game would be willing to take. This is the 15th round of this championship, and as Phil Kraus punches in the fastest lap of the race, he's on track for what will be podium number 15 of 2022. It will be just his third place finish of 2022. In 12 previous races, Kraus has stood on the top 2 steps of the podium.
It's been that type of a year for him, to say the least. Keep in mind, Taylor and Graf expected to come in the next couple laps. Their gamble about to not pay off for them with 6 cars on the lead lap.
It was worth the gamble for Taylor and Graf to pit during that last caution cycle that we had. It will be extending as far as they can, hoping and praying that we end up under caution for the 3rd time today. Kraus faster yet. More time in the wheel for the number 19 machine as he tries to close a 1.2 second deficit up the road to Alexander Van der Sant. Lechka has been worryingly unable to go back on the offense to try and regain the podium spot away from Phil Kraus.
I think it's Blocker's race to lose as long as Blocker doesn't slip up. Van der Sant is keeping him in check, though. That's the tough balancing act for the rest of this mark. Can Van der Sant find any way to make a pass in the midst of the aero wash?
Remember, JP, that in the previous 7 races that we've had here at Gateway, 4 of them have had margins of victory under a quarter of a second. 3 of them, yes, have seen the victory taken by over a full second. 1 victory, 4 full seconds. But this is a track that is known for close finishes, and as Matt Taylor rolls to pit lane, leaving Tyler Graf as the final car yet to come down to pit lane for the final time at the front of the field, it is now the battle between Adam Blocker, Alexander Van der Sant, and the closing Philip Kraus, who searches for victory once more in 2022.
Van der Sant is making the right decisions, though, in terms of line choices, I think, to be able to chip away at this gap. The tough part's going to be getting side by side, getting the diamond down as these tires get older and older to make it within that 1/10 of a second or so towards that margin compared to last year. That's going to be the tough balancing act the rest of the way. Good guess this time, again, gaining a little bit more ground on the bottom.
Now, will they be communicating with one another saying, we've got 10 to go, let's make sure we don't fight early. Let's not let Phil Kraus join the fun. Let's make sure that he's not a part of this fight for the victory. It is an oval where you can communicate with your teammates. Blocker, one that likes to make sure on road courses he is silenced off and focused with his thoughts. What is going on within the paddock as the 2 teammates not just fighting for the win, but looking to bring in the gap at the front of the HyperX team standings.
Your contact there for a split second. Van der Sant having a reset. Nearly got to the back tire of Blocker. The question is there enough time for Van der Sant to fully get himself back within that 1/10 of a second margin he was in 1 and 2 with that hard charge to the bottom? He's struggling a little bit to hit the same line now.
8 to go. Remember, no repeat race winners, but Adam Blocker has been the pole winner for the past 2 years coming into tonight. Yes, Van der Sant rips the pole away from him, but Blocker now 7 away from being the first repeat winner at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, looking to go back-to-back for the first time in 2022. Larkamp jumps in front of Kinsella. As the leaders come on lap traffic, Luis Gonzalez Nunez is having none of it, will get far out of the way.
All the way to the bottom of the racetrack. Not a good spot for Philip Kraus, so that might hurt Kraus's chances, but with 6 to go, quickly approaching the point of return, Van der Sant needs a little bit of luck here. He is quicker on the roll in 1 and 2 compared to Blocker, but Blocker just has that better arc through to the exit.
It's going to require a mistake, you feel, from Blocker. He's not the kind of driver that will give this one up without a fight, but pressure has been known to break even the best. 5 to go at the line, this time by Phil Krause continues to close. Van der Sant unable to make any inroads in the battle for the race lead as he dives down low once more. Blocker holds for now.
That's about the spot where Van der Sant's had to check up a couple times to avoid contact with Blocker. If Van der Sant's going to try and win this race, he needs to find a way to take away Blocker's line at this point, other than pressurizing the mistake, because he's been able to roll it so much better on entry to Apex. Right there again.
Almost contact again, and Van der Sant out of the throttle, loses some ground. Will have to build up his momentum all over again. Is that the moment that saw the race victory go into the pocket of Blocker, or is the fact there is more lap traffic in front of them still going to bring another twist in the tail as we come to 3 laps left to play?
I think Van der Sant's got maybe one shot. That's about it at this, trying to go a little lower.
Slide job through 1 seems to be the preferred option, but each time he tries, the closer Phil Krause will get. 3 cars split by under 3.5 tenths of a second. Lap traffic goes up high. We've got a race to go. 2 laps left to go.
Van der Sant's a little bit too far back to make the lunge this time. Might have a chance in 1 and 2 on the final lap. That's about it.
It comes down to these final moments. With 4 cars breaking away at the front of the field, has Blocker done enough as we come to the white flag in the HyperX 200 at Gateway? Blocker searching for back-to-back victories.
Oh, and Van der Sant nearly clocked the wall. That might have been his chance there.
It has been the Power Slide show here at Gateway today. Can Phil Krause wrestle away second from Van der Sant, who is struggling in the closing stages? Second and third both wobbling as they ramp off of 2, but into 3 for the final time. It will be Adam Blocker that leads the field. In a year dominated by Phil Krause, it is now just the second driver to have won back-to-back races in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. Adam Blocker wins at Gateway. He wins the HyperX 200 at Gateway.
It took a lot of work for Blocker to get there, but what a strong run towards the end of this race. As soon as he got the clean air, he was able to just hold on and defend well over Van der Sant.
The first time a driver has been able to win multiple times at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, it comes in the form of a driver that has dominated here in the past. Yes, 2022 is the year where the championship will leave the clutches of Adam Blocker, but the rest of the year is open for Blocker to make a statement. The statement was made today with the pass around the outside on his teammate. Adam Blocker roars into HyperX victory lane.
And I think this is needed for him momentum-wise for how this season has fared out. Blocker going to be extremely pumped to finally break through yet again this season. His 3rd victory of the season in a while, though. Well, it's been a week.
The previous victory, I have to correct myself, it feels so long ago, but Blocker did win at Long Beach as well, so he had already won a couple of races this season. He'll be delighted with victory number 3 this week, but it holds to say that watch out for the Blocker Express. If it's been the Krause train that has rolled through the first half of the year, it is the Blocker Express that is looking to stamp his authority on the rest of the championship. Well, 160 laps later, just a couple of cautions. What a day it was for Adam Blocker, taking yet another victory in the storied history of his Lionheart IndyCar Series career. It is victory number 35. It's in front of his Powerslide Adrenaline teammate as the 96 car comes across the line in second. A good day overall for Powerslide. Phil Krause continues the momentum though. A 15th straight podium on the bounce. Malechka in 4th, Matthias Krause with his 2nd top 5 of the season, his 3rd top 10 in as many weeks. Joshua Chin in 6th with Marquez, Beard, Rigney and Sexton making up the top 10. Joshua Chin, the hardest charger of them all, plus 17 to 6th spot. Matt Taylor finishes the final car on the lead lap with Adam Frazier, Andrew Kinsella, Stefan Larkamp and Joe Branch 1 lap down. Luis Gonzalez, Nunez, Tyler Graf, Matt Houston 2 and 3 laps down respectively. Then the many retirees, Paul Jenkins and Kite Bommersbach, the first two that retired from this race, while the likes of Mitchell Riggs, Chris Lanini, Jason Brophy, Connor Harrington, Brian Carey, James Brandt, Adriano Pinheiro, Alex Guyon, and Tony Schowen will round out the field of 29. Fastest lap punched in by Philip Kraus as he went on the hunt in those final 15 laps of the race. What a day it was, and with a checkered flag in hand, we dive our way into the HyperX post-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. And let's not dawdle, let's head down to HyperX Victory Lane, where we're joined for the second week in a row by the defending champion Adam Blocker. And Adam, it was the move around the outside that got you the victory. Just how difficult was it to get that pass done, the only pass that we saw for the lead here today?
Well, the whole race was really tough to pass. First, I want to... Brophy and I had a really good fight the whole first 50 laps of the race. I was definitely faster than him, but he did a really good job defending, so I didn't pass him until actually we went side by side on the pit exit lane, so that's pretty nuts. But yeah, after that, I got kind of lucky with the caution. I was just past pit in when the caution came out, so I was able to do my stop and then basically cycle around to second. And I knew from the practice races that Alex was kind of struggling on restarts a little bit. And I didn't really get a good jump on the first one, but the second one, I had a good enough start, and then he made a mistake in 1-2, and so I just took the chance I had, and I knew from the battle with Brophy that the outside was a good line in 3 and 4, at least if you were well alongside, which I was.
You had an eventful race, you've recapped a lot of it. You didn't talk about the moment in the final cycle of pit stops when you're almost rear-ended, slowing to pit road speed by your teammate Vadisant. Just how close was that as you were watching in your rear view mirrors?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching. I thought he was going to get stopped. Honestly, I was just trying so hard myself just to make it to pit lane. This was probably the sketchiest pit in I've ever had on a short oval. Just the setup and the combination of the flat access road, like, made it really sketchy. And I was just trying to take it easy because I knew he was behind me and he couldn't pass me. But I still had to push because obviously Rob and Phil were not pitting on our lap. So, but yeah, I think he could have avoided me hopefully, but yeah, I don't know, either way, I wasn't too worried about it. If it was going to happen, it was going to happen.
The busy run continues with a fourth race in a row 7 days from now as we head to Motegi. A very tough track in a similar way to this. Going to be difficult to pass. Qualifying is going to be key. How are you feeling as we head into the final run of this crazy month that has been August?
Well, unfortunately I have to miss the next race because I'll be busy doing real-life IndyCar stuff on the West Coast, but I'll be able to make the GP race there, well, which I had a pretty good run there when we last went there in Indy Open, so feeling good about that. But yeah, really just happy to get 2 wins in a row here because it's been a rough season, and this is kind of, yeah, just good validation that I can still get it done. So
you got it done today, that is for sure. Congratulations on the win, Adam. Your third of the year. We'll see you at the Motegi Grand Prix course in the middle of September.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody on the team real quick. Alex and Rob for working together with me there, and Andrew when we were lapping him. So really good team effort and really good team result. See you guys next time.
Adam Blocker from HyperX Victory Lane over to his teammate that put it on pole position for the first time in his Lionheart IndyCar Series career, but unfortunately second at the end of the day. Talk to us about that race, Alex. You were able to break away at the front, build a gap. Traffic then was difficult, and then the cautions turned everything on its head.
Yeah, no, it was pretty easy to control it from the start. Just I think everybody was just trying to save and go as long as they could in case we gotta because pit end was so sketchy. Everybody was worried about getting caught out by a caution. So yeah, just saved fuel as long as I could and took care of the tires and yeah, just kind of got screwed on one of those restarts. Adam was able to get around me, and but from there we were still in control the whole time, which was it. That felt really good. So, a lot to take away from it, but overall, pretty happy with the result.
So, Race Control wants to speak to you, Alex. They want to know what hacks you seem to have on pit lane, because you seem to be the magic man when it comes to executing strategy calls in and out on the lane.
Yeah, I didn't really get to show it off this time, but yeah, it's just something I practice that other people don't, and you know, it's easy to do because you're constantly leaving the pits. So yeah, just it has like bit me before, like, you know, being too fast and then the pit exit's closed, like at Nashville. But yeah, fortunately I was able to execute really well, keep it clean, but still fast on the pit in, on the green flag stops, and yeah, just brought it home.
It does look as though you are in for a fight in the championship now as we wind to the end of the year, as your teammate Rob Malechka and a couple of others have closed you down. Are you feeling excited about the end of the year and having to fight tooth and nail with other drivers as you look to secure second in this championship?
Yeah, I mean, I know the battle for first is long over, but yeah, we, you know, we're proud of what we've done so far this season as a team. But yeah, it's getting close. This race helps, certainly, getting a bit of a gap to Rob. But yeah, hopefully we're able to keep it clean throughout the rest of the season and just go for more wins as a team.
Good day for Powerslide with a 1 and 2 as they try and close in on the private label team up. Alexander Van der Sant finishes second. We'll see you at Motegi in a week's time.
Thanks, guys.
Good day for Van der Sant. Pole position continues to show some strong pace, but it is a 15th straight podium in a row for Phil Kraus in the number 19 private label Team Hype machine. Phil, talk to us about today's race as he took the charge to the Powerslide teammates at the front of the field. Looked like a rather difficult one for those in Dirty Air.
Yeah, the Dirty Air was definitely quite hard to overcome. The first run, I was just trying to save fuel and go as long as possible because we knew from the pit entry that it was really treacherous, and there was a pretty good chance that someone would probably end up looping it on it, especially in the Monday and Tuesday practice races. People were really struggling with it, and it ended up coming true, but just the yellow came out right at the wrong spot, and Adam and Alex were able to capitalize on that because they were on pit road when the yellow came out, and they were able to stay on the lead lap. It was a real shame for Jason and Connor, though. They got caught a lap down by it, and then they had an incident a bit later on. But yeah, Dirty Air was really hard to overcome. Tried my best at the end, and just didn't have enough, any of those two, to trip over each other a little bit more.
And we head to a very similar race next time out at Motegi, where again Dirty Air is going to be difficult. Each end of the racetrack is different, and it's known for frustrating its drivers and sometimes bringing tempers to a boil. What do you expect as we head to Motegi to close off the month of August?
To be honest, just single file racing. It's super hard to get a good setup to work there and be able to race. Every time I've raced there, I've been stuck single file pretty much the whole time, so whoever gets pole, they're in with a good shot to win the race. But obviously that's all just speculation. We'll have to see what happens, and maybe Andrew can pull a blinder on us and make a really good setup for Motegi. We'll see. No pressure, no pressure at all. When it comes to, of course, looking at the end of the season, when we get, of course, to Auto Club and we get to that final race, we've got plenty of road course racing still left to go, and there is the potential that we'll have some new faces joining the party as we wind to the end of the year. Are you excited about having some new challenges as we close off the campaign with some of the best road courses that the world that iRacing has to offer? Oh yeah, definitely. I'm really looking forward to the road courses, especially. I've always been pretty vocal on that. I love the road courses in this car compared to the ovals. Always have, always will. But yeah, looking forward to seeing new people join, and honestly, just hoping we can finish the season the way we've run it so far and just keep on racking up these podiums and wins.
Don't forget Phillip Island, the penultimate round of the championship. Phil's hometown race, as we have declared it on Race Spot TV. Congratulations on yet another podium, Phil. We'll see you at Motegi in 7 days' time.
Yep. Cheers, Arjuna.
As always, great to talk to the drivers, giving us their time in our HyperX post-race show. And what a day it was. What a moment that we had. Moments away, seconds from commercial break, the caution came out that very much changed the game, with Brophy Harrington ending up losing out big time as a result of that. And next time, it is a track that will frustrate in equal measures to what we saw today, JP. Motegi last year saw the debut win for Henry Bennett. This year, would not be shocked if we see another first-time winner able to break through at a track that will frustrate and delight in equal measure.
Qualifying will be extremely important, as emphasized by Philip Kraus. This is a racetrack where there's plenty of speed, yes, but the aero wash is very prevalent here. So expect it to be difficult to be able to come up in front. Another strategy roulette type of racetrack on the docket.
And what a run to the end of the season that we have. Of course, after Motegi, a couple of weeks off, the first time in a while for these drivers, and then back to the land of the rising sun and the Grand Prix layout. A very good layout, if you ask me. If you ask Andrew Kinsella on our Monday Night IndyCar Open coverage, he tends to disagree. Then to Barber, and one of the trickiest tracks across the entire year. Milwaukee will be equally difficult. Then to Kansas, Phillip Island, and Auto Club to round out the year. JP, we're heading into the final stages, and while, like Alexander Van der Sant said, the fight for first is done, there is still plenty to fight for as we get ready to wind to the end of the year, as we look ready to build for 2023.
Still plenty of opportunities for drivers to build on. Absolutely. Milwaukee in particular is going to be an intriguing one, I think, for some of the drivers. October the 12th. Don't forget about tracks like Kansas that put on some stellar racing towards that run up to the Triple Crown finale at Auto Club.
I mentioned some of those new names. Jacob Oster joining from Motegi onwards. Potentially the likes of Sean Campbell, who shocked the world on debut in the Lionheart Retro Series, becoming just the third driver to win on debut. Could he do the same in the Lionheart IndyCar Series? What a day that would be. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. It is time to bid you farewell. Before we do so, we thank those that make this possible, starting with the title sponsor of the Lionheart IndyCar Series. You're passionate about sim racing, but it always feels a little flat compared to the feeling of driving a real car. Now you can actually feel what it's like to drive a race car. Buttgear haptic hardware and software are easy to install and let you feel every bump in the track, slip of your tire, and engine redline. The tactile feedback is so accurate and realistic, you'll be driving faster and having more fun than ever before. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com.
Next Level Racing is an industry-leading cockpit and motion simulator manufacturer to create the most immersive experience possible for the global sim racing community. Take your racing to the next level and visit www.nextlevelracing.com.
Moser Racing is revolutionizing sim racing with the development of industry-leading hardware and software products like their R9 direct drive wheelbase and GS steering wheel. Featuring zero-delay wireless technology and made from high-end materials, Moser Racing delivers the precision you need to reach victory lane.
Gomez Sim Industries are makers of high-end esports equipment and controls. Precision built using nothing but the best materials available today. Passion and handmade craftsmanship drive each made-to-build order build, creating a private experience like no other. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com.
It's not just them, but so many more that make this all possible. To learn about the partners of the Lionheart Racing Series or the 3 competitions the sanctioning body puts on, head to LionheartRacingSeries.com. And of course, don't forget to head to social media, where you can stay up to date on all the latest comings and goings within the virtual paddock, within the world of the Lionheart Racing Series. And what a day it was. What a tumultuous day for some. A delightful day for others. Adam Blocker roars to HyperX victory lane once more and continues to set history. Today, the first driver to win multiple times at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. The busy month of August continues for the stars of the Lionheart IndyCar Series presented by Buttkicker, as 7 days from today they get ready to do it all over again in the land of the rising sun for the HyperX Twin Ring 200. Of course, next week is all about Motegi, though, as the Lionheart Speedway Series presented by Moser Racing will get the week underway with the Moser Racing Twin Ring 200, a double-header of delightful action of IndyCar racing from the Motegi Speedway. You can catch it exclusively on RaceSpot TV and on ESTV. On behalf of the team behind us at RaceSpot TV, for Justin Prince and myself, Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to share your company this Wednesday evening. We'll see you next week from Motegi to kick off the doubleheader. For now, though, we congratulate Adam Blocker and we bow down to the inevitability of Philip Kraus, a 15th podium in a row, as Adam Blocker takes victory number 3 of the season. We'll see you next week. For now, so long and goodbye.